So you said at the very beginning that the single biggest takeaway from this 86-year-long study on adult development at Harvard is that a good life is made from good relationships. Can you talk a little bit about what the study says about the importance of romantic relationships to your happiness and health and to living a good life?
Yes. So actually, I was talking about this to a group of people, and one woman raised her hand and said, well, given all you've said, if I don't have a partner, should I just walk in front of a bus now? And the answer is absolutely not. You don't need a romantic partner. That romance is great. Sex is great. Intimacy is great. And intimacy can be with all kinds of people, right? So it may be that you don't have a romantic partner right now in your life. That doesn't mean you never will. But if you don't have one now, there are ways to be intimate with close friends, with other family members. And so what we're finding is that these benefits of relationship don't require a marriage license. They don't even require living in the same place with somebody. That you can have people in your life, maybe just one or two, who are your close friends, who you share your life with, and that there's no special arrangement you need to have with them. Now, that said, what we do find in the research is that living with somebody in an intimate partnership actually keeps you healthier longer and helps you live longer. But there's no mystery about it. It's because it's somebody to remind you to take your medication when you're older. It's somebody to remind you to get off the couch. It's somebody to drag you out to a gathering when you're kind of stuck watching Netflix.
You make it sound so romantic.
Well, I know it's not so romantic, but it is really just the day-to-day that other people make us better by keeping us on track. It's somebody to get up for. It's somebody to get dressed for. That's one of the reasons we find that many times when one partner dies, the other partner kind of doesn't live that long afterwards when we're very old, because there's a way that living with another person helps us stay in the world and take care of ourselves.
Is that kind of the same reason why pets are so good for your health?
Oh, yeah. Pets are great. First of all, they get us up. They get us to walk. But also, pets love us, especially dogs. Dogs are particularly emotionally attuned to their masters. Pets provide comfort in a way that, again, literally lowers the fight or flight response. We can measure it. When we're petting a dog, the body calms down.
I want to go back to something that you said. You mentioned something about like even just having a friend or two that you have a much deeper or an intimate connection with. Do you have 2 or 3 examples that might get somebody's mind thinking about things that they could plan or do or ways they could look at their friendships to amplify them?
I do. You know, our lives are so busy and we're pulled in so many different directions. And, you know, what we find is that often we want to see people, but we don't. So one of the things you can do is set up a regular contact with somebody. So let's say maybe there were just 1 or 2 or 5 people who you say, I got to have these people in my life regularly. Make it happen. I'll give you an example. My co-author for this book we wrote, The Good Life, is Mark Schultz. He's been my collaborator for 30 plus years, but he's also my friend. So every Friday at noon, we get on the phone. He lives in Philly. He's not around Boston. So I might see him once a year in person. But for 30 plus years, we've had a phone call every Friday at noon. And yeah, we do talk about research and we talk about our writing together, but we talk about our kids and our marriages and we talk about everything. Now, one of us has to cancel if we're not going to meet Friday at noon. That means that it's going to happen by default. And that means it happens much more often than not. It's rare that we cancel a time. What if you had a friend like that who you said, once a month, we're going out to dinner? So what I'm saying is, try making one thing regular in your life with a friend or a sibling or somebody who you just want to say, I don't want to lose this connection.
I want to tease that out because I think this is something that you could listen to and kind of nod along and be like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And so I want to make sure that you really understand what we're saying here, because over and over and over again, living a good life is about the things that are right in front of you that you're not seeing.
Yeah.
And everybody's busy. And if this matters to you, what he's recommending is that you schedule it as a reoccurring appointment. It is already set up. The babysitter is locked in or your friend is on board. And so you've already done the hard part of moving from thinking about it to doing it. And the appointment itself is what keeps you connected. Like if you have it in the calendar, it's more likely to happen. And there's something that I did that really helped me tremendously, which is I have a habit every morning where I send a text to a friend or a family member just saying, I was just thinking about you, or sending a photo or whatever else. And if I really do want to get together, I say, I would love to see you. Are you around next Thursday? Or I saw this photo come up on Facebook. I just say, I was thinking about you. And we underestimate how much it means to somebody else, and making it a habit to do that first thing in the morning, every morning, has kind of fanned the embers of old relationships, of people that are still friends. I just never see them. People that I went to college with, high school with, people that I used to work with. Like you have many more people in your life than you realize. And these small habits actually help them contribute to creating a good life.
Absolutely. Mel, you are the poster child for what we call in the book social fitness. These small actions, like physical fitness, like something you do every day to keep yourself socially fit. And it can be small things like a text. It could be, somebody with a long commute, like you say, well, I can't add anything to my time. Well, if you have a hands-free phone in your car, use your commute time to talk to somebody instead of, listening to music or listening to the news. Reach out to somebody. There are all kinds of ways you can add to your life without having to add so much time that you are more stressed.
Did the study give you any guidance on what makes for a good friendship?
Yes, several things. One is what we call authenticity. And all that means is I feel I can be myself with this person. Like I don't have to put on any kind of act. I don't have to hide big parts of who I am with this person. That sense of just being able to show up as yourself means a huge amount in terms of the comfort with which you can be together. The other thing that makes a good relationship is curiosity. So if you think about it, especially with long relationships, we think, well, I know this person. I know what they're going to say. I know how they're going to react. Bringing curiosity, even to long-standing relationships, can be so good. Like one of my meditation teachers actually taught me this first. He said, your job when you go sit down on your cushion now for the 1000th time, as you meditate, is to ask yourself, what's here that I have never noticed before? So what if you're sitting across from your friend at the coffee shop and you ask yourself, what's here that I've never noticed before? And just bring curiosity even to the relationships that you think are routine, mundane, like the back of your hand.
What's interesting that I just thought about is that if you think about your own life and you go back to like half the age that you are, looking backwards, you realize how much you've grown, how much you've changed, how different of a person you are. And yet we don't give that same perspective to the people in our life. Like your mom has gone through the exact same amount of growth, even though the habits on the outside look the same. Your partner is a totally different human being.
Yes.
Even though they look the same to you. Your friends have had so many things happen in their life that have changed who they are and what they care about. And yet you still show up and talk about the same old sports team and how are the kids.
Yeah.
And there's something so much deeper going on.
Yes. To notice how somebody has changed can make someone feel so seen and understood.
Raising kids, what's important to focus on?
Wow. Probably the most important thing about raising kids is providing them with stability and love. So one of the things we know from all the child development research that's been done, I mean, thousands of studies, billions of dollars in child development, it all boils down to what one scientist said. He said, every child needs a stable relationship with one adult who's crazy about them. And so if
Not crazy. Not an adult who's crazy.
who just loves them, who just loves them. And that doesn't mean affirms everything they do. It doesn't mean praise everything it means you just love them and you're stable and you're there. They know they can count on you. So it's providing stability. And that can be very hard for some of us, for some families. And so, even through divorce, for example, how do we divorce in a way that provides the most stability for the kids?
I don't know. How do you?
Well, you fight as little as you can. You don't make war with your partner if you possibly can help it. But you let the kids know we're both here for you. We both still love you and you've got both of us. And that's not going to change, even though we're not going to be together anymore. That's a huge message to give to kids.
A lot of what you're talking about when it comes to living a good life, it's about the relationships that you cultivate, and it's about the inner life and the way that your life feels.
Yeah.
How do you teach kids those kind of emotional skills?
Yeah. We really can teach it. One of the things they know, for example, about family dinners is they're hugely important for teaching emotional skills. Kids listen to what we say, but what they really do is they watch what we do. And we model stuff all the time. So at a family dinner or other places too, are we respectful of each other? Do we really listen to each other or do we interrupt? Right? We used to play the interrupting game with our kids where everybody would start out with a certain number of M&Ms. And if you interrupted, you had to put one M&M into the center pile. And then, and then you could earn it back if you didn't interrupt for a while at dinner. So we teach not interrupting. We teach listening. We teach respect for somebody's views rather than jumping in and saying, that's wrong. Or how can you believe that? We teach curiosity. We teach turn taking. We teach mutuality. So one of the things that we know in a good relationship is that one person doesn't occupy all the airtime. Well, where do kids learn that? First, they learn it at home. And so how do you have discussions where you share the airtime rather than one person taking it all?
What role does forgiveness or acceptance play in creating a good relationship, particularly with family?
Yes. I mean, the things we've been saying. So one habit is being curious about how they're changing right in front of you, and then going with the flow. So if someone is changing, not opposing that. Think of all the pain we cause each other by saying, no, you can't grow up to be an engineer. You have to be a doctor. Or you can't grow up to be a woodworker. You have to be a lawyer. However we decide someone else has to live their life. That is a recipe for pain and suffering.
How come?
In families. Because each of us is who we are, right? Each of us is this unfolding being who has their own likes and dislikes, their own talents. And so if I think, oh, my child has to be like me, that's a recipe for disaster. So what if we could really be curious about who is this being that I've brought into the world? And how can I help this person express who they are in the world? That's a big factor in which families thrive.
When you look at couples and this innate desire that we have to either change or control them.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned that one of the amazing things that you can do for someone is to step aside and not interrupt the flow of them changing. I was just curious, what do you think the balance is between the nudging, get off the couch, we got to take a walk, you've been sitting at your desk all day, and stepping in and trying to control somebody?
I'm going to quote a famous Zen teacher who told his monks, "You're perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement." So it's this kind of paradox that, yes, we want to accept each other and we want to help each other be better, right? So it is a little of both. Like, we don't want to just accept kids and let them do whatever they want, because they'll be heathens. They won't learn to function in the world.
They're also not adults yet.
They're not adults yet. They're not able to choose for themselves. We can't say to the toddler, sure, go out and play in the street if you want to. No. And you're right. We do want to say to our partner, come take a walk with me. You know, we've spent enough time on the couch. The balance is trying to let someone be who they are, but to nudge them in the ways that we can to be healthier, to do things that we think will help them be happier. So it's always walking a fine line.
I don't even know if I can get through the opening of this. I literally am so excited for today because over and over and over again, living a good life is about the things that are right in front of you that you're not seeing.
Yeah. What's the strongest predictor of who's going to be healthy and happy at age 80? When we look at age 50. And when we looked,